You are now vibing with Mike Shinoda.
Snort.
I love it.
Mike Shinoda.
Magic.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. All right. That's enough nonsense. My friends, I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good day so far. I am tired. I am not gonna lie. I did not get good sleep last night. This is not the way I wanted to have this conversation because my dog Misty had diarrhea. It's not cool, you guys. It's not cool. My brain is functioning at like half speed. The last few nights, she's a boxer bulldog mix, and they have apparently they have really weak stomachs, and she'll eat some grass or piece of dirt, or somebody like a gardener will leave something on the ground and she'll eat it, or she'll get to something in the kitchen off the floor and just have diarrhea. And she's a 75-pound dog, so it's not cute. It's not a little thing. So yeah, she woke us up in the middle of the night last couple nights, but last night was just so annoying. And I didn't get as much sleep as I want. But it's fine. It wasn't that bad. But yeah, I was worried about her though, because she didn't eat dinner last night. And you know what that's like, as if you've got a dog, you're uh-oh. It's one thing if they've got an upset stomach or whatever, but she's really lethargic and wouldn't eat dinner. So I was actually legit concerned a little bit. But I think she's fine. She ate dinner this morning. So yeah, she ate dinner this morning. So that's all good. I think. I'll give you an update later if as things go. Remind me, because if she's fine, I'm probably not gonna say something, and then you guys will, I'm sure, remind me. But yeah, she's she's doing she's very slow today. We have a big conversation today with a gentleman named Xavier, whose last name it's really hard for me to pronounce because we'll talk about it. Coelho-Kostolny, off the top of my head, I think is his last name. He goes by Xavier CK3D on Twitter. 3D because he's a 3D character designer for a game company. And he, as you guys know, I posted a thing. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just jump straight into it? It's gonna take me 1 second here to get him onto the channel. So give me one quick sec and I will hopefully be able to handle this. Let me see here. I'm gonna send Xavier the link. I don't know if it's a new link or an old link. Boom. There we go. And hopefully... Oh, all right. Checking in. Xavier, you there?
I am here.
Okay, let me just check real quick. Can the fans who are watching, can you guys hear Xavier? Let's start there in the chat. Can you hear him? I'm gonna turn off. Xavier, you can't really. I'm sure you can't hear this music that I've got playing, but.
Well, I was watching the Twitch stream, but now I've just got that muted, so I can just hear you.
So you can just hear me. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. I think I got you on screen. There you are. Guys, we good? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Xavier, for joining, for having the guts to show up and face off on this very difficult subject of gaming and NFTs. I'm really excited to have you. One of the reasons, obviously, is that this is like this subject doesn't like really belong on Twitter. I feel like it doesn't belong on Twitter, if you know what I mean.
I think we talked about that a little bit before because, Twitter always comes in, it's essentially these little sound bites, and it's always going to devolve into just a chain of sound bites, which makes it difficult, right?
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, because a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is like it's so complex, and it's not. I mean, Twitter's really just not 140 characters bursts are really not the ideal way to talk about it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for those who are just now catching up, let me say, actually, before we jump into it, just so you guys know, I was planning to do a stream where I did a remix track of, it's going to be an AI and human collaboration. So there is an NFT drop called Warps, made by Warp Sound. My followers know I work with Warp Sound. They do AI music, and they're doing a drop, and I'm going to take the audio, the AI generated audio from one of their pieces, and I'm going to remix it today after we chat. So stick around later for that. But let's jump in. So Xavier, tell everybody, because I kind of know a little bit, but tell people, what do you do for a living, and how did you get there?
How I got there is a really weird question, but yeah. So hi, I'm Xavier. You actually didn't butcher my last name. You got it right. It's Coelho-Kostolny. It's because people ask all the time. It's Portuguese and Slovak, and apparently my parents just decided they wanted to torture all of their kids, so they saddled them with this hyphenated monstrosity. Anyway. So I'm Xavier. I'm a 3D character artist who's been in the video game industry for a little over a decade. I got my start working on items for Team Fortress 2, and then shortly after moved over to a full-time game company. And those were a couple of the formative experiences that got me to where I am now. If you're not familiar with my work, which most people probably aren't, you'd probably have seen it in games like the Insomniac Spider-Man from 2018. I made a bunch of suits for that. I made some of the villain models and a bunch of little NPCs and other stuff. I was the lead character artist on Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart for about a year, and I've since moved on to other stuff that was more in my wheelhouse. More in line with what I want to do. I'm currently working in a company called Wonderstorm. They're the people who make, it's a show called The Dragon Prince on Netflix. It has a lot of the same feel as like Avatar: The Last Airbender, not the movie, the TV show. And it's actually made by some of the same people who worked on Avatar. So if you like that type of thing, you might want to check it out. I'm currently working on their game, which has been announced as a thing that exists, and there are no other details that I can spill about it, unfortunately.
It's funny because I have to ask, I wanted to start with something that I feel is so getting to know someone, and when you're having these conversations, what are your favorite games?
Ooh, so I generally have three that I put it by my sort of personal pantheon. Right at the top, I put Bloodborne because, at least in my opinion, it's the only popular and well-known game out there that, even if it does it kind of behind this veil of very impenetrable text and lore and other stuff, it deals with how men in power treat women's bodies, and how men in power tends to strip away the agency of women as creative forces and creative agents, and it kind of shows the danger of men in power slipping into the sort of shtick of toxic masculinity, which I think is a really interesting thing, given that it's essentially an action game that's really, really difficult. So it's a bit impenetrable in that way, which sucks, because I wish it was more on the surface. The other two that I kind of hold up are Team Fortress 2, like I mentioned. I don't play it so much anymore, but especially vanilla TF2 before it started adding a lot of items, like the ones that I worked on. I would hold it as still, even over a decade later, the sort of high watermark for functional art direction in games, and probably in pretty much any piece of media of its time. And finally, Thief 2, because I grew up playing that game for hours and hours and hours at a time, and I think it's just an excellent example of the immersive sim genre. And I have a deep well of love for really sneaky games.
Dude, I didn't know about Bloodborne. That was like, I love that description.
Yeah, so I would say that if you're going into it with that description, be prepared to get kind of frustrated because it's a From Software game. They're the people who made like Dark Souls and stuff. So it's really hard, but if you can kind of get past that hump and just like take it slow and do things like read item descriptions or listen to some of the dialogue with a critical ear, it has a lot of interesting things to say.
Do you own any crypto?
I do not. So around 2017, 2018, especially when Bitcoin was kind of on the rise, I was very strongly tempted to buy into it because I had like just gotten a bonus from work, and I was like, this seems like an up and coming thing. But the more I looked into it, the more I was concerned about two main aspects. The main one was at the time just the volatility of it. Because especially around that time, Bitcoin was going up and down and up and down like crazy, and I couldn't really see it being a sound long-term investment. Not something that I could retire with. And the other consideration that I couldn't ignore was just the environmental impact. The thought that there's the proof of work versus proof of stake, and Bitcoin is very proof of work, which uses up tons and tons and tons of energy. Actually, the last I read, just Bitcoin mining, if I'm not mistaken, and please, if someone out there has better information, please feel free to correct me. But last I read, just Bitcoin mining uses up pretty much as much energy as the entire country of, I think it was Argentina, which for a single, sort of online decentralized currency or something, seems like a crazy waste of power and fuel and resources, which I think could probably go to better things.
Yeah. So that's a very common like criticism of like crypto in general.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of other things that like put it into perspective, and like when I was first getting interested in it, that was that criticism showed up. I think I got into it in like, the viewers would probably know better, but it was like January, February last year. I got curious, and then I read some of that stuff and I was like, oh, that's shady. Like that's really scary. I had minted a couple of NFTs, and then that like kind of pushed me out. It was that, and there was like an influx of like influencers who all like started showing up and like shilling these weird projects and stuff. And I was like, oh, I got to take a step back. This is getting really weird. And then I think because I had like already started the like talking about it, some other people didn't get scared off. And in the chat on this channel, they stayed in and did more research, and maybe they were already more knowledgeable, but they educated me on the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. You actually mentioned that a minute ago. That there's proof of work is really energy intense, but proof of stake is actually like 2 million times more efficient. And that's not like that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's like 1/2 millionth the carbon footprint, I believe.
Right. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading about that as well. And, that at least in terms of like the energy consumption and stuff, that's where if the proof of work hadn't been such an issue, I probably would have jumped in. But if proof of stake, comes to be more of a prominent thing, then Sure, I would be willing to take a second look, but
Yeah.
I think I have some other reasons why I'm not so interested in crypto.
Yeah, totally, totally. And we should just jump into those because I obviously like neither of us are like climate scientists, and we're not, that's not our area of expertise.
Yeah.
So we're going to skip over that part of the discussion because we have enough to talk about that we are more knowledgeable about. And I want to learn the conversation. What was interesting was that I think I was going to ask like, what's your understanding of an NFT is, but I think knowing what we just talked about and knowing what the chat's already kind of like aware of, I mean, let's skip like definition of NFT for the moment because I want to jump in deeper. What do you mind me telling you to like just laying the groundwork of like a little bit of my background specifically in game design? Because I'm so
definitely be interested.
Yeah, because I'm so such an expert in game design. I obviously have like almost none, but I don't have zero. I don't have like, I'm not like completely in the dark. Before Linkin Park, my background was in illustration and graphic design. I've worked in art software for 25 years, and I've made horrible things in Unreal and Blender and ZBrush. Like I've tried to make things, and I know some very basic things about them. I spent a few months like making things so that I could like try and 3D print them, for example. Like it wasn't to like design games or anything, but it was like, okay, I know how to model a thing, and I know some of the limitations of that. I also helped oversee, Linkin Park actually made 2 games, and I was like the point person on those games. There was one called 8-Bit Rebellion and one called Recharge. And they didn't like take over the world, obviously, but they were a great experience. And I mean, then there's other things, like I scored a level for Medal of Honor, but that's like that wasn't like experience. I did mention like I saw blockchain collectibles well, actually before this year, I saw them around 2017, and I got interested because at that time it was like, oh, you can like make digital things that are unique and whatever. And it might be a good way for artists and musicians to like make cool things that they otherwise couldn't have made. I thought that was like, okay, I'm curious about that, but I didn't like jump in at that point. It wasn't interesting enough. I didn't believe in it enough to jump in. And it wasn't until this year where I said, oh, it's actually developed, and now I can see how that actually works. I want to throw a weird thing at you. Have you heard the royalty? Have you ever heard the royalty rate of the artists get for streams of their music?
I've heard a few of those, yeah, and honestly, it's a little bit a little shocking just how little these, multi-million or multi-billion-dollar companies are willing to shell out for something that directly provides them value.
It's all their value, right? Like that's their entire value. Like the value of being on their platform at all is really just the aggregation of the artist's content. Like the common number gets thrown around is like, oh yeah, an artist gets 1/3 of a penny per stream. But what people don't realize, I just saw like just last week or the week before, T-Pain got, one of his posts went viral about, oh, it's only 1/3 of a penny per stream. But that's actually really not, the whole picture, because from that 1/3 of a penny, the record label takes 30 to 40%. The publisher takes 1%. The royalty collections agency takes 1%. Management takes like 10 to 15%. Legal takes 10%. Business takes 5%. Then it gets divided between the members of your band, and then taxes get taken out. Like it's a crazy 1/100th or 1,000th of a penny at that point. And so that when you hear artists, when you hear like especially musicians get interested in this thing, it's because it's not like, oh, hey, we can sell a monkey JPEG and make all this money. It's like we've been taken advantage of for so long. And it goes with artists in general, as an artist yourself, it dates back to like, you can even look like the Renaissance and like Da Vinci and how they were taken advantage. Artists have always been taken advantage of. So this is an area where an artist can say, oh, I'm going to sell a thing. Someone else is going to buy a thing, and there's nobody else in between taking a piece unless I let them in on that equation. Have you heard about that like dynamic before?
Yeah, I have, and I actually have some experience with that. I also have experience with, things like in Team Fortress 2 when they started to do a push for community-created content to be put into their game. I was part of that first wave of items and things that the community creates, and then uh, Valve, the company who made Team Fortress 2, they're the ones who would actually implement it in the game and give it things like in-game stats or sound effects or anything else attached to it. And the interesting thing about that is that their royalty payments are spectacularly higher than basically any other royalties that you get for any other type of media. It's like 70% of the sale. Now, granted, they're selling these like in-game helmets and stuff for like $2 or something, but obviously that's going to add up, especially if you have a large player base. And then, of course, there's things like, taking commissions. I'm currently working on a commission for an artist who wants a VR chat avatar, which is awesome. I think that's a really cool use of current technology, and it's a direct artist to user experience and sort of format for that, which I think is the model for a lot of the more artist friendly and successful platforms out there. Um, and that's actually I was going to bring this up before when you started mentioning how uh, things like NFTs can be like a direct to consumer type of sale, especially for things like art and music, right? Um, the part of the reasons that I have specifically avoided working with NFTs and the type of I guess sales platforms that tend to be attached to them is because they don't really solve anything for me.
Mm.
And for most artists that I know, interact with, follow, um, and whose art that I want to look at, consume, however you want to phrase it, the additional step of adding on that essentially, you know, verification step or entry in a ledger that an NFT does, it doesn't provide any benefit. Now, I can certainly see, especially for somebody who's getting a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a penny, the idea of just getting a full dollar for a song is an immense thing. But I think there are a few other things to consider about NFTs, and especially how NFTs are presented and sold to people, that that talk tends to ignore, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in the midst of like, well, this conversation to me, somebody was asking like, why would you dive into this? You don't know anything about this, and I was kind of like, well, that's like a. We'll come back to that. I want to actually, I want to show. I'm going to put on screen right now the tweet that I put up, which was Real Saturday Convo. I'm surprised by so much negative sentiment by gamers about NFTs. Can we chat? Of all the applications, gaming is a place that players can benefit a lot from blockchain. Do they not know yet that there are eco-friendly NFTs? Let's talk, keep it civil. And as you like, I knew when I put it up, okay, there's going to be people who come in very hot, and I'm happy to talk with them because I don't disagree. The problem is like, I don't disagree with some of their points. I do disagree with some of their other points. And then also a lot of people just don't have some information yet. Like I was still getting like, well, an NFT is just a monkey JPEG. And I was like, okay, no, it's not. It's not a monkey JPEG. And number two, it can be, number one, it's not that because it can be so many other things that have possibilities. And then number two, the eco-friendly thing is way more complicated than some people think. We had talked about the fact that like Ethereum, for example, is like has a big carbon footprint. And yet Ethereum 2 is on the way and is being developed. It's taking the joke for the people on the crypto side, the joke is that it's almost like Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy. Like it's the album that'll never happen. Like it just it takes forever and ever and ever. But eventually that'll come out, and people joke that it's going to be shitty when it does come out. That may be true, and the thing is, nobody knows, right? But there are already proof of stake networks. There are already proof of stake crypto an NFT platform. It's not a platform. It's like a network. But people also don't know they exist, and they don't know that they're being built, and they know so on. So you saw one of my tweets, and I was haphazardly responding to people. This was like a stupid idea, by the way. The dumbest thing that I did was I went in and individually responded to people like in little tiny vacuums, so that other people didn't see those responses, and then they responded with the same questions, attacked me on the same things that I had already talked about, and whatever. And then one of my comments you saw and you ran with.
Yeah. So
can I show? I'm going to show the thing on
please.
screen on screen real quick. I'm going to show it. It said you started with, I know a lot of press people and gamers follow me. So let me explain this. Is deeply, unbelievably, intensely incorrect and near impossible. Because I had said, imagine taking your Fortnite skin from Valorant and using it, favorite skin from Valorant, and using it in Fortnite, not paying extra, using it in other games, etc.
Right. So those are actually, so the reason I specifically responded to that one actually is because it's kind of an encapsulation of a lot of the points that I see being made about gaming and NFTs in general.
Misconceptions, right?
Yeah. So there are kind of two components going on here. One is that I actually did go and read some of your other comments before I even responded, and I specifically chose that one because it was sort of the one tweet compression of a lot of ideas that I see from people who don't know anything about games or crypto or whatever. This is not necessarily like an attack on you, but more the widespread misconceptions about a lot of these interconnected things. I don't mean to like brigade you with, followers.
It's all good. It's all good.
The reason that I specifically chose that one was for the ideas contained within it. And the ideas contained within it, as you can see in the absurdly long thread that I posted, there is a really large set of very difficult problems associated with those ideas. They're not unsolvable, and they are not... how do I phrase this? They're not incorrect necessarily, but the amount of work and money that would have to be dumped into a product to actually make something like that viable doesn't match up with the amount of money that would actually come in from selling those things,
totally.
Especially in the gaming space. And I work hard for a living. I'm sure you work hard for a living. There are lots of people who are working class people who are doing similar things, who you could, for example, sell a monkey picture NFT, or you could do something like what a lot of movies are doing, where they're selling NFTs related to new movie releases. But the amount of work that goes into, especially creating something for a game, even something incredibly simple like a hat. I believe that the example that I used was a beanie. The amount of work that goes into just creating that from scratch, but then also integrating it into any sort of blockchain technology, makes it pretty much completely infeasible in terms of transferability between games. So that's the first component. The second component is, why is any developer or publisher going to essentially give a license to somebody to take their item that this company made and put it in another game without any sort of financial kickbacks or anything like that? So basically what these people who are kind of touting these, touting NFTs as sort of the next wave of consumer ownership of in-game items and stuff, what they're not considering is that there's no financial incentive to do so, and it's really fucking hard. Because if one person owns the NFT, the company that originally made it isn't making any more money. Now, if there was a system for reselling those within the same ecosystem that the company controls, sure, they would probably consider it. And things like that do exist. If you go back a few years to look at like the Diablo 3 auction house, it was a real money auction house in-game that the community could run, and all the prices were based on amounts of money that people could actually pay. And it was essentially real-world bidding with money. Blizzard took a cut. And it was a huge disaster because people hated it.
It's infamous. I mean, it's totally the Diablo 3 marketplace is like the infamous example of when it just does not work, right?
Right. And that's, in a lot of ways, that's best case scenario for that type of thing. They actually completely stripped that functionality out of the game because they understood that, not only do people hate this, but it's actively damaging our reputation to the point where we have to make massive goodwill strides to, win back the community.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being in the meetings about that, where you're like, look, this is happening anyway. We're gonna just jump on board and like take a risk, and like maybe the fans are gonna love it. And then the fans were like, this is a nightmare. We hate you. We're never playing your game again. And they're just like, uh-oh.
Right. And so if you can imagine that, so there's the people at like my level. I'm just a working class Joe. I go to work, I make a thing, I go home. Or in the case of working in a pandemic, I sit right here, I do my computer stuff, and then I switch over to my personal computer and, I work on personal projects where I go, help my wife with dinner, or we sit on the couch and watch TV or whatever, but it's all in the same space. But all that is taking place in the same spot, and I would be hearing about this through my computer and being like, oh my god, the people who are actually in charge of making these decisions are the ones who are complete morons, and they're completely out of touch with what the players want. And basically what people want is, if I'm playing Diablo, or I'm playing like Final Fantasy XIV, or World of Warcraft, or Call of Duty, I want to feel like I am part of whatever the fantasy that this game is presenting is. I want to feel like that's me. I am the hero who's saving the world, or I am beating up some boss in Final Fantasy, or I am grinding through thousands of skeletons in Diablo. And I don't want to walk past some other player who's just literally dropped $100 for a purple helmet that I could only get by paying $100 for it. There's no appeal for me. I don't want to play that game anymore because they bought the thing that I was working towards.
Yeah, the pay to win format that everybody basically hates.
But it's not just pay to win. I saw a tweet. I think you actually sent me a tweet about it's called World Wide Web with 2 B's.
Yes.
And it's this online sort of MMORPG which has support for NFTs, and you can do things like use your NFT as your avatar, right? And I took a look at it, and I'm sure they have some really impressive technology that they're using to connect to those different marketplaces and hosting providers and other stuff to get those NFTs. But the main component that it seems to be missing, at least for me, as somebody who enjoys games and enjoys having that fantasy of, being a hero or something like that, is I start out as this naked, faceless avatar, like literally naked and faceless, and the only way that I can get even a face is by paying for it. I can't really. I mean, you can get some items in this game, and this is a drastic oversimplification, but I want the fantasy of, like, if I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV, I want the fantasy of being a gigantic 7-foot-tall, really sexy bunny creature who goes and saves the world, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
But in something like World Wide Web with 2 B's, I really hate that name.
I think it's named after I think the creator's last name is Webb.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I think that's why.
but I don't get that fantasy. And so, as somebody who wants to go and experience parts of that, I don't really have a good reason to unless I'm already invested in this ecosystem with lots of real world money and lots of real world effort and all this other stuff.
Do you
So
mind?
instead,
Do you
yeah,
mind? Let me jump in really quick on that note. I wanna take us backwards for just 1 second.
absolutely.
Can you tell me? Because I want to come back to that with a little bit more context before we get into the
Sure.
details. Where were you when you realized that your tweet had gone viral?
I was literally sitting right here, and I was still in the middle of typing the tweet thread. So there's
It was so it was
Twitter,
already huge as you
yeah.
were writing it.
So the funny thing about Twitter, and I've learned this as I've like gotten more followers and stuff. I hit 20,000 just a couple days ago. Actually, I hit 20,000 because people were following as a response to this tweet thread that I posted. So there's a funny thing about Twitter where if you hit it at the right time and you're in the middle of a very specific thread about a very specific topic that you know a lot about, or you can talk about a lot with great detail, you'll start to see the numbers go up on the first tweet. And once it hits a certain point, whatever it is, the algorithm is like, oh, this is going to be popular because it's getting a lot of traction really quickly. And I could see that immediately. And it's something that I've seen before. I've had way more popular tweets than that one, and it's a funny thing about Twitter that a lot of folks who don't use it as disgustingly obsessively as I do don't quite understand because they simply don't have the experience with it.
Dude, people are learning so much on so many different subjects today, I feel like.
This is just a huge garbage heap of unrelated subjects in here. So,
no, it's great. It's honestly like this is exactly these are bullseyes for this community. I wanted to when I saw the tweet going, when I first noticed it, I think you were done. By the time I saw it, you were done. Everybody had already seen it. And I was like, okay, there's like 140 characters is so few to respond with. And I can't how am I going to make, first of all, you had responded to an interpretation of the fact that my tweet, which was taking characters from one game into another, you had responded to that in a literal sense. And I meant it in much more of a creative sense or an imaginative sense, that you've got two things that you love, and what if you could move things between them? And
sure, yeah.
So I did ask you, I sent you a DM that I was going to ask this, but is there a version of ignoring the fact that there's there are protocol standards and technicalities and all of this stuff, impossibility, right? If there were two games that you could move something in between, can you imagine what they would be and what the thing you would move between them would be? What games and what item would you move? I DM'd you this, right? Did I give you a heads up?
Yeah.
Okay,
you DM'd me this, and I was thinking about it for a while, and I had to sit and think about just not just the general concept, but what is something that I love so much that I want to see it in other things, and as much as I have things that I'm a big fan of, and as much as I love seeing more representation of things that I love in other stuff, in other media, it's something where I actually, I actively tend to push back against that type of thing, because I see it as a part of a really kind of tricky and, to put it bluntly, kind of gross trend in a lot of media where, we're not just going to do sequels, we're going to do crossovers, and we're going to do cross-media promotion and vertical integration and all this other stuff.
Do you not like how Fortnite does it, for example, then?
I don't.
Okay.
Now I do have friends who work on Fortnite. I think that they do incredible work, and I have to respect the the technical achievements and the artistry involved, because these are some of the best artists in that space in the world. So they know what they're doing, and I have to appreciate that. I can't not appreciate it. But Team Fortress 2 did this years ago. Many other games since have done it, and now Fortnite is kind of the example of it. And I think it sort of, at least to me, represents a kind of gross, hyper-capitalist way of treating something that is essentially an art object.
Yeah.
It's all the worst parts of painting a can of Campbell's soup, and none of the good parts, which are this painting of a can of Campbell's soup is a critique of the literal thing that it's a painting of.
Okay, the thing for me, this question, and I wrote that question to ask you, but when I thought about it myself, which this had already occurred to me before, but I feel like I thought more deeply about it and thought about it with a different context, knowing that I was asking you the question. I asked myself the question, and the first thing that came to mind, my favorite game right now is Valorant. My favorite game from maybe of all time, because of my emotional attachment as a kid, was Metroid.
Sure.
So my thought was, okay, well then I would love to see Samus Aran in Valorant. And then my brain immediately went, yuck, that's awful. And not only even if you did the Fortnite approach where, you're going to build that character up from scratch, you know what it looks like you're just, building a version of it that is that aesthetically lives in the context of the game. Like every time Fortnite puts a character in, they don't look like the way they usually look. They look like a Fortnite version of themselves. And even if you did a Valorant version of Samus Aran, which by the way would look incredible, I would fucking hate it. I would be so mad. Like as soon as that door gets open, I'd be so mad that they're bringing these. And what you had said in your thread resonated with me so much at that moment, because I was like, yeah, that's the example that shouldn't happen. Well, hopefully won't happen. In fact, like a little bit. This is like a bit of a name drop, but I do know some of the people from Valorant because I play and I stream. I stream the game. I've met people on the team and I've talked to them. If we're super lucky, Joe Ziegler, who was a director of Valorant, is going to pop in and out of the chat. So shout out to Joe. And I immediately realized the curation. This is the thing, is as an artist, the curation of something like that has to be. So Joe is in the chat. What's up, Joe? He's in here and he did not talk. He was like, this is his first thing he said. Oh, my name is being dropped. Shout out to Joe. Hi, Joe. They know I'm a huge fan. I could one of the things that I love about the game is the curation and the restraint of the design is so specific. Like they've got their brand. They've made something that it is not so many things. There are so many things that they do not do. And that's one of the things that makes it look like, from an art, I'm drawn to the art. So that's one thing. Just as a fun quick aside. So Moby Frank, I'm not sure if he still is, but Moby Frank is or was the art director for Valorant. And he also was one of the lead concept artists for Team Fortress 2 many, many, many years ago. So if you're a big fan of the art, then what you're seeing is directly some of his influence. And he's one of those people who, in the game industry, he's one of those invisible people who has a ton of influence, but many people don't even realize it. So if you're out there watching and you want to look up some really cool art, look up Moby Frank. It's his last name is spelled a bit funny, and his first name is spelled exactly like the recording artist, but it's France, Moby Frank. Nice.
He has incredible art.
Thank you.
And by the way, the thing that leads to this.
By the way, when I was in school, when I was in college, I got my degree in illustration, and I thought I would get into what I was gonna do would be album covers, movie posters, things like that, because Art Center because game design and character design and things like that weren't in the curriculum at that time.
Yeah.
And now it is. And I've been back to my alma mater since. And dude, I 100%, like if the music thing hadn't worked out, I 100% would have been in that. I would have majored in that. That would be the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be working for you, basically. Like that's what would end up happening is I'd be working for you, like bringing in like concept art, and you'd be like telling me why it's not any good. So I want to read a couple tweets. We're kind of running out of time, but I want to read a few tweets. I just really quickly, I want to, I'm not going to say any names with these tweets, but my favorite, like, it's so Twitter to be like, here are some of the things that I saw. I saw a quote, "I am very nearly certain that none of these crypto bros have ever actually played a video game in their, in their life." That was a great one. There was, quote, "There are many who are confused about NFTs, but none seem to be more confused about NFTs than the people who peddle them." Somebody says, "Anything to make a quick buck these days. Bummer." And my favorite one was, quote, "It's 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power to read." Oh, that's
So-
just golden.
So
Love that one.
I think it's important to note that one of the running threads that I see with people who tend to let's call it be involved in the NFT sphere is that a lot of them happen to not just be heavily invested, but also use a lot of the same language and psychological techniques and social pressure that, for example, Cutco Knives does. Cutco is a pyramid scheme, and their whole business is built upon the idea of doing the pyramid scheme. One person has a lot of capital, they invest it in convincing other people to, buy the stuff that they have and then sell it and give them kickbacks. And that's something that I don't think we've really addressed yet so far. And it's something that a lot of people kind of want to sweep under the rug, because there are so many other things to criticize, like, interoperability between different games or the energy consumption thing. Yeah. But one of the main things that turns me off in terms of NFTs and crypto in general is that all of them, or most of them, they basically sound like pyramid or Ponzi schemes. And I'm not saying that all of them are, because clearly a lot of them aren't. I mean, you've done NFTs, and it's basically just so that you can, get your music out there and get actual money from it instead of that tiny fraction of a penny. But for example, if you look at the $69 million purchase of one of Beeple's artworks, what was it, last year through Christie's auction house, $69 million worth of cryptocurrency is transferred between accounts. And if you go and you look into, even do like a surface level reading of what's going on and who the people involved are, it becomes really clear that they're just shuffling money from one account to another, but you have people who are business partners doing that. So like Beeple is business partners with the person who actually bought his image for $69 million. So even though Beeple has a 2% stake in this anonymous person's business, that's still 2% of $69 million, which he suddenly has more stake in shuffling that money around. And a lot of that,
well, believe me, being in the space, I won't disagree that there's the scammy nature of some of it is disgusting. Like there was a thing the other day, I'm not going to shout out the actual community because it's not a good idea. It's a new coin got created last week. It was linked to a new marketplace. They incentivized people to join the marketplace by listing an item, and like you're a seller and a buyer, right? So you go in, you list an item, you buy an item, you do things. If you the more active you are on their platform, the more of their token, their cryptocurrency, social currency, or whatever you want to call it, you get. So of course, people started to find their most expensive NFTs that had zero royalty and then sell it to themselves at the highest possible prices. And so they were getting free token from this. So they were just they were just gaming a system that the people that created this ecosystem and their format, I won't call it another word, but they gamed the system, and they made out with extra money, and they did something really smart. But the truth is that money is getting invented out of thin air. And when that coin crashes, the people that were smart in taking advantage of other people, they're going to walk away with all that money. And the people that got taken advantage of are going to be like, damn, like hopefully those people didn't get hurt too much. But that's the bad side of the subject. I want to just point out real quick, though, I can't let it slide that there's a massive, first of all, that there are, like when people say, oh, crypto bros, Ponzi scheme, blah, blah, blah. The people that they're really leaving out is, number one, like artists and creators. Like there are game designers, there are illustrators, there are AI art creators who use code to make art. There are, there's this host of people who are using the technology they're using it for good. I mean, they're using it just to have a business and they want to get out of, in some cases, they want to get out of their day job and have a more independent artistic lifestyle. And the other thing I just want to say before you jump in is that the other people that are in the space that people forget are literally like masters in computer science. Like there are so many smart people trying to develop this space, and they're not, like the ones that I would talk to myself are ones who are not participating in Ponzi schemes. If anything, they're jumping on Discords and DMs and saying, "Oh, hey guys, like watch out for this one. This is really not good." Or I looked at the code of this thing that came out. Do not touch this coin. Do not touch this NFT. There's really weird shit in the code. They're out there too. So like, let's just not ignore the fact that there are plenty of good actors in the space.
Right, of course, yeah, and I think it's super important to point out to people that those who are actively going out there and trying to caution people, those are people who are doing other people a service, and they're not getting paid for it. They're doing it because they care about other people.
Yeah. Hopefully Code Crafting is in the chat. Code is one I would shout him out. I've worked with him because he's one of those people that gives and gives and gives to the community.
Right. One of the main issues that I see, though, is that, and I think a lot of artists who I know and have worked with and who have been really curious about the crypto space, one of their main concerns is, there are scams everywhere. But another big concern that they have is that NFTs, especially, are massively enabling art theft to the degree that it's probably almost instantly become one of the biggest sources of art theft generated revenue in the world. In fact, DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest art websites in the world, actually had to implement an image recognition bot into their website just to detect whether duplicates of people's work were being sold in an unauthorized way on websites like OpenSea. And it happens so much.
That's awful.
That, it's not just awful, it's incredibly widespread. And I have friends I have many friends whose artwork has been stolen, sold as NFTs, and there's nothing that the original artist can do about that. You can't recoup that because the sellers are anonymous and the wallets that these things go into are anonymous. And there's just simply no way to have your art actually be valued in any way by a huge number of people who are investing heavily in crypto and NFTs.
Yeah. So this is the point. These are the checklist of items, and I would add one more, which is security. That your entire wallet security is hanging on your seed phrase password, and it's way too easy for you to lose everything in one moment. And
Right.
the item you said, these items that we've listed, like these are the things that for folks who are watching, who are deep in the space, these are the items to put on your checklist of like for me, for example, I've been operating mostly on Tezos because it's a little more like an independent, like it's like an indie label. Like it's a lot more artists selling to fans. And it's also a lot of open source software and tools that people have made and given away to the community so that that's more possible. Plus the eco-friendly format of it, because it's proof of stake. The reason I haven't gone bigger on Ethereum is that all of those things that you just listed that's where I see them happening the most. And it's very expensive too. Like I can't, on Tezos, I gave away an NFT. I just like gave them art. It ended up being worth like hundreds of dollars. And so all of those fans, I was just literally giving them money. And then they were able to, like, if they wanted to sell the piece for the money, they could do it. But many of them realized there's this like special moment of awareness where they said, wait a minute, I actually like this art enough, this NFT enough, that I don't want to sell it. And that creates that price discovery, that enough people held it that the price went up. So the fact that someone could care enough about this item and find that price, it's what's kind of driving in the more pure corners of this world. That's what's driving that. I'd say, like, just to jump off that topic real quick. So there are people, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, that there are these people that are they're smart people. They're not, taking advantage of people. They're artists. They're game designers. They're creators of different ways. They're making stuff, and they want to collaborate and move their IP around. One of my friends in the blockchain space, Chris Wallace, who's a big collector and creator, his tweet was, clearly you haven't tried World Web 3. This is what, he didn't say this to you, I don't think. Clearly they haven't tried World Wide Web 3. This is exactly what they already offer. Sure, it's no AAA title from a huge studio, but it's nice. It's a nice proof of concept. So the key there that I want you to I'm going to put World Wide Web 3 on the screen. I want you to talk about the idea of, think about World Wide Web 3 from the perspective of an indie game developer that's like, just like 6 months in on making something that, they're making a new thing that, and by the way, not only is the game not developed, but the whole ecosystem and like foundation underneath the game is changing every day. How do you react to that?
My basic reaction is to simply just ask a question. And the question is, and it's the same question that I have for basically any crypto and NFT project, basically anything related to this entire spectrum and ecosystem of different products and services and stuff, is what's the value proposition? And for me, at least, the value proposition is a negative. It's not that it doesn't have a value proposition. It's that the value for me is actually a net negative because I don't gain anything from this.
Right. And by the way, we do recognize, right, that the people that do benefit in a big way are people that already bought art. They already bought an item and they said, I'm buying this because I love this item. And the item doesn't have any gaming value. It's just an item. It's a pretty piece of art, or it's a great profile picture, or I'm just trying to flex on Twitter or whatever. Whatever the thing was, they bought it for a reason, and that reason didn't include gaming. And now World Wide Web showed up and they said, oh, actually, let us give you extra value and utility from the thing you already bought.
Yeah. So that's kind of where it falls apart for me. The general idea, like I was mentioning before about something like Final Fantasy XIV, the general idea of the call it a constructed ecosystem in this MMORPG is that I can go into this game and I can pay the sort of nominal subscription fee and then go and do quests with friends and live out the fantasy of being, you know, this sexy monster hunting, you know, boss fighting, world saving hero. The the fantasy that I get from playing something like World Wide Web 3 is I am cosplaying as a rich person. Right?
Interesting.
So
what if the NFT that you're using as a skin is not expensive though? Does that change it?
It doesn't matter. No.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because as soon as you inject real money into buying a cosmetic item, you're instantly saying, and especially if it's one that you can't get through just earning it through, like, say, an in-game reward system that's built on the systems that the game designers created as, like, a reward for, hey, you did the thing, here's a cool little reward for you. As soon as you inject money into that system, you're instantly saying, okay, the haves and the have-nots are not based on effort or time put in or interaction with the community. It's simply based on, does this person have some dollars to spend?
Do you think, and even if, like, let's say that they implement that. Let's say that in game you started, you already said that, you know, it doesn't work for you that you start off as a naked person. You literally have nothing. What if in the game you could, you know, developing quests and items, that's something that takes time. They've only existed for a short period of time. So one might say, okay, is it on their, maybe it's on their roadmap to do exactly what you said, and you can play the game, get items and quests and skins and all of those things. And then your character has them. Like, how does that resonate with you?
I mean, I think that's fine. And that's generally the way that most games work, right? I mean, you play through the game, you get power-ups. I mean, it's been that way since, you know, since the Mario days and before. You know, you play through the game, you get a reward for playing in a certain way, and that reward for playing a certain way encourages you to play that way some more. But with things where the things that you get in the game are just tied to how much money you're able to spend, then anybody who you see who looks really fancy, you're going to realize that, oh, they just spent a lot of money to get all this stuff, and the only effort that they put in was by, you know, cashing in some of their stock options for this, you know, $5,000 NFT.
I mean, is it because I can afford the skins that it doesn't bother me when I'm in games where that's going on already? Like, if I'm in Valorant and I see somebody with, like, and they've just got every skin for every gun, I'm like, I'm more likely to be like, yo, can I, like, you know, can you drop me one of your guns? Like, than to be like, oh, screw that guy, he's got so much money or whatever. Like, and I don't actually put very much money. The only time I spend money in that game is when a new character comes out. I'll buy early access. I want the character right away. But is that because I can afford it, do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
maybe so.
Look, you have a lot more money than I do. I have a lot more money.
How do you know that? I don't know how much money you have.
I would say that
You're
if
guessing.
if I can look up somebody's net worth on
mean,
Google,
don't do that. Those aren't accurate. Those are not accurate.
Oh, no, of course. And you know, I know that none of that stuff is accurate anyway. For example, I don't technically have any of the money that I have in, like, my IRA or 401k or whatever. There's not a lot in there. But I think it's pretty safe to say that anybody who is even on a list of people who has a net worth, like, on the internet or something.
No, I hear you.
You probably have more money than I do.
Yeah, no, I hear, 100% I hear you. And that's like that's an oversight that, yeah, I'd say I'm guilty of that oversight. That's an oversight that, like, it wouldn't occur to me often for $100, like buying $100 of credit in a game that I love. Like, but you also talked about, like, you know how with, do you have kids? I don't, or if you don't want to answer that, then okay. So I do. And like, one of my kids is super gamer. Like, so like, one of the reasons why I got more into gaming, I think, is because we play together. And in his mind and his friends' minds, buying skins, even if you know that eventually you're not going to play the game anymore, there's like no hesitation. Like, and he gets his allowance is like $20 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So for some people that's insanely high. For other people, that's like, you know, they don't even like give an allowance. They just buy their children, whatever. So understanding that my like life situation is what it is, but he gets a limited allowance and he gets to spend it on things, and he has to do chores to get it. And when he spends it, like 90% of the time, it's skins in games. And he knows that the games, like he stops playing games like every few weeks, and he's spent money in those games. And I brought it to his attention. Like, are you sure it's a good idea to buy these things in these games when you know that you're not going to play it in a few weeks? And he's like, yeah, like I want to enjoy it now for as long as I play the game. And there are times when he goes, oh, I really would love to buy this item in the game, this cosmetic thing in the game, and I can't afford it. And oh, well, like that's life. So yeah, I think that like, this is an interesting like part of the puzzle is people who have an emotional, like a grown adult who's emotionally together, like who's not developing still, who has a very real emotional reaction to somebody else flexing shit that they bought, digital shit that they bought. That resonates with me. Like because I didn't grow up with everything. Like I grew up in like the Valley in Los Angeles at a public school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying, especially as somebody who grew up in poverty. You know, I was very, very lucky in that I was able to get some hand-me-down computer parts that my brother had scrounged together and start investigating like video games and digital art and that type of thing. And I am one of very, very few cases of people who are in the game industry who I didn't go to school for this. I'm self-taught. But most people have to get some sort of support from their parents or family members or take out a loan or any number of things. And having come from essentially poverty, I was raised in a house with 6 kids, and my dad never made more than 40 grand a year. So, you know, having come from that background, I appreciate the value of $1. And even spending $20 on something that is a frivolous purchase, for me, even though nowadays I make 135 grand and I occasionally take on commissions to supplement that, that's still a conversation that I have with my wife, because we both understand that if we spend something in the wrong place, it's going to drastically affect us. You know? So if I'm a person who can really only afford the, you know, whatever it is, $15 a month to pay for like a World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy subscription or something like that, that's the only thing that I can afford, I'm naturally going to have a much stronger reaction to somebody who is wearing like super fancy armor and looks awesome. And I know that those things are things that you can only get by earning them, as opposed to just going into the store, clicking the buy button, and not even thinking about the dollars that are disappearing from your bank account.
Especially, and by the way, for both of us, knowing the people who make these things, seeing somebody like flexing on the game that they've got all of these things that you made, and you can't even afford to get those things. Like you literally made them. That's by the way, that's true in art. That's true in music. That's like the amount of, I don't just work with like, you know, rich and famous musicians or rich and famous artists. Like I on this channel, about a year ago, I started like, it's not a contest, but it was like for me to produce, musicians' work who we just found on social media, who are at the very beginning of their career. And like some of them, like, they didn't have anything. And they sang into a mic, they sang into their phone, and like, I liked it. And I worked on one of their songs. So I did that for a few months last year. And I know, you know, because it's like, for me, it's important to like be a part of something, be a part of a community, and be part of something bigger. I think that that's like an effort that I make. And because if I don't make that effort, I'm just going to be like some weirdo, like influencer person, and that would be like my worst. That'd be my worst nightmare. I would be the worst person, the worst role model for my kids that I can imagine. Okay, we have to wrap it up. We're
Yes.
over by like 15 minutes. I loved this conversation. I would be happy to have you back and do some more
absolutely.
because there's so much. I feel like there's so much more to cover. Are there any final thoughts on your side before I let you go?
Yeah, go commission artists directly. Just
nice.
If you have an artist whose work you enjoy, it doesn't have to be a visual artist like me. It can be somebody who's a musician, or it could be a pixel artist, or somebody who produces real world goods and they have an Etsy store or something. I recently decided to give myself a Christmas present because we weren't able to go home for the holidays and get nice presents from our family. I treated myself to a painting of a really cool hand-painted little cute guy by an artist named Megan Rose Ruiz. She's a traditional artist. She now currently lives in LA. I was able to go to her booth at a local farmer's market, actually meet her in person, even though we'd followed each other on Twitter for a long time. But it was an absolute joy to actually get, and it's sitting right above my desk. It's on the wall right now, and I want more people to take that energy and go and spend it on things that people actually create.
Yeah, especially when it's somebody who like is in a growth part of their career.
Yes.
They need that money, or they could use that money, and you love their stuff.
Absolutely.
Is her Instagram just Megan Rose Ruiz with a Z?
Let me double check.
There's a really like funny fuzzy Elmo like on her.
That is probably the one. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on the screen. I don't know if this is the right person, but
yes, it is. Yeah. So her Twitter handle is Megan Rose Ruiz. It's Ruiz with a Z. And that's the exact
there she
one.
is. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love this Elmo. Like, look at the texture on this thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic work. Her work is amazing, and it was a pleasure to meet her. And you, as a person who's watching this Twitch channel, like, you can go and commission an artist. Like, there are artists out there who are trying to make a life as an artist, and you can spend $15 and get like a portrait of your RPG character, or just commission them to do something new and different for you. And that is a great way to get money directly into the hands of artists, and it directly benefits both of you. There's no middleman. There's nothing else involved. You can just say, I want to send you money to make a cool thing for me, and they will do it, and you'll both be super happy.
Agreed.
And you won't have to have any weird intermediate steps.
I love that. That's really, really great. I do have a final thought as well. And it was a thing, like, I think one of my biggest takeaways in this whole conversation between where it started and where we've gone today, I think that where my head is at is that one of the reasons why this conversation, some people are like, well, why, Mike, why are you getting in them, jumping into the fray? Like, I don't understand why you are there. Like, why do you care? What authority do you have? And besides the fact that I've really, truly gone super deep on this crypto and NFT stuff, and there are places where, believe it or not, like gamers who are watching, believe it or not, I really agree with you on a lot of those key points. There are also places where there's an education that needs to happen, and I know some things. But the third part that is a little more intangible and maybe like most important is that I, in my life, have seen many times things that people think are impossible happen. I've experienced them myself, just starting with like, oh, I'm going to have like a famous band that I can will pay the bills and it'll be my main job. Like, oh, by the way, playing music was always a hobby. I was in school to do art. Music was just the thing I did for fun. If you told me like you could do that and get paid for a living to do it, I was like, that is crazy, because I literally only spend money. Every time I make a paycheck, I buy music gear. Every time it's the place I spend all my money. And so to do that for a living is insane. And then addressing, and I think this actually addresses the second part of it, addresses like some of the complexity of your original tweet thread. if you had told me, like, well, in fact, when we started making Collision Course with Jay-Z, it was, you're gonna, like, here's our idea. We're gonna make this album. It's gonna be a mashup thing, and we're gonna play it on stage, and we're gonna put it out as an EP. The very next thing that happened was, dude, you're gonna have to get clearances from and participation from MTV, Jay-Z, Kanye West, Timbaland, Jackson 5. You're going to have to get everyone's labels, everyone's publishers, management teams, everybody lined up and happy with the like agreement to do that. Mm-hmm. Good fucking luck. Like they were, you know, people were like, that's not obviously not going to happen. Right. And we were standing on stage with Paul McCartney at the Grammys. And I was like, how is this even possible? And it took me a long time to wrap my head around it. But I think it's because I've had these life experiences where the impossible was made possible, that I look at some of these things when you say like, it's really, really unlikely, dude. And I go, yes, for 99.9% of people, it might be, but I am positive there's somebody out there who is going to take all this stuff. They're going to listen to you and they're going to go, here's where I 100% agree with him. They're going to listen to some like, you know, people on the crypto and blockchain side and be like, okay, here's what I learned here. And they're going to implement it in a way that we all go, what a home run. Like they nailed it. I don't know how they did that. They just nailed it. It's not going to be everybody. It's certainly not going to be most people, but I believe it'll happen.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair point. And I would say that the only thing to think about, especially for people who are listening or watching or whatever right now, is that that's a people problem largely. Whereas integrating something like blockchain technology into games or movies or music or whatever, and doing it in a technological way is a technological and a people problem.
More difficult.
So not just more difficult, but a very, very different type of challenge. And that challenge comes with a lot of really risky things, not just in terms of what the technology and people involved are doing, but also in how it impacts us, not just as artists, but as people living on a planet that's already in the middle of an avalanche.
Yeah,
and
it's a grade 10, a level 10 problem in every category, and some of the categories don't even exist in other endeavors you could be spending time on. Like that's the part I'm 100% convinced. You've 100% convinced me about that point. Good job. Like your thread, the whole thread 41 tweet thread, that is very convincing. I am convinced of what you said there.
All right. Well, great. Then I think I did my job.
And I hope people who are watching, who are in like this crypto and all that stuff, were educated as well. I got to let you go because I got to make this track. Thank you so much, man, for joining.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
All right,
have a good day.
Bye. You guys. What a guy. That was good. Xavier. I just want to give some quick shouts before we jump into this music track. We got to go, man. We got to do this because I'm running out of time. I'll stay late today. To get this track done. Shout out to Xavier. Also, shouts out to, what do we have? Ali H, Frame World, Insurreal, Oni88, Wild AF7, Vlada Draws, Vincent Bob, Choli Good, Nelly, Kingu 1337, Oni, Lake 64, Isabella Dominguez with the raid. There's No War 112, Junior 99P, Ray Boussard, Mr. Grumpy Moose, Lumpel 63, and Posey Tiffany. Normally I give everybody the shouts of what that was, a follow, a subscribe, a gift. But we're out of time. All right, guys. So moving on. Don't worry if you were late for that or if you missed most of that. It will be, I export, shouldn't say I export, like Anna Ginter exports. The team, Anna's the one woman team. Anna will export this episode onto my Twitch channel, YouTube channel. So we always stick the videos up over there. When we're done, you'll get a chance to watch it. Moving on, we've got a very exciting thing. I want to show you. I've rated Warp Sound before, but let me just, oh shoot, I closed the window, didn't I? Here. Let me just pull up their website. All right, here we go. Warp Sound is a, well, it started off as, really it's what they do is music AI. Music AI is something I've been interested in a while. What the version of it that they do is the first time I was really like, I want to be involved with this company. Like I want to do something. So I worked with them a little bit, kind of like advisory, but a little bit hands-on. Like I've helped like create some sounds and do some, it's almost like you're designing the personality of a musician. As weird as that sounds, like they've got characters who each character has a taste in music. And that means it's making decisions about what it would and what it wouldn't use in a song. So it likes certain snares and kicks, it likes certain synths, it likes certain BPMs, certain effects, right? So all those choices are made. You put some parameters around the AI, and then you let the AI just run wild within those parameters, and you adjust the parameters until the AI is making music that sounds cool. That's a wildly oversimplified version of what it is. The actual developers of with Warp Sound and Authentic Artists are like, you know, geniuses. I mean, I can't even begin to like understand some of the things that they're doing. However, when it came to like, you know, more music expertise and like making decisions about curation and aesthetics and sound and even some technical music things, I was in the mix. So they have a new NFT collection. It's called Warps, WVRPS. You can check out this. The characters over here on the right is a character called Naomi. Over here on the left is DJ Dragoon. We call him Goon. Here's the info. So each NFT is designed, the music of each NFT is designed by AI. So Dragoon, the AI, did his music. All right. Naomi did her music. And Narhart did his music. Their music? I don't know if Narhart is a guy or a girl. I'm not sure. Narhart is a rabbit-ish. So yeah, so that's what they're up to. As part of the you know, friends around the team, I said I would remix one of the tracks. I listened to a bunch of them and I loved the Dragoon track that I'm gonna play you, which sounds like this. So Dragoon, the output is only 4 categories here. There's bass, drums, lead, and pad in this case. You know, sounds picked by the character. And one thing that you get, by the way, this is interesting. Maybe a little nerdy, but one thing you get when if you buy one of these NFTs, you get the commercial rights. So most NFTs at this point, you don't get that. I mean, it was one of the things that made Bored Apes popular and so on, like certain other ones. So what that means is if you buy it, you own the image, you own the music. Like you can make t-shirts, you can make a whole t-shirt line, you can make posters, you can make a movie using the character, you can put it in your movie, you can use it as the mascot for your restaurant, you could use it as the mascot of your school. Like you could sing or rap over the track and commercially release it. So they're playing with the actual, like, the commercial rights level of this NFT thing. Because it's all about value, right? Like, okay, well, what is it? Oh, it's just a JPEG. Okay, well, then I'll pay X for it. Okay, it's more than a JPEG. Well, tell me more. You can use it in these ways. And you'd be like, wow, that's actually, I own a pizza parlor and we've been looking for a good, like, image, like logo, like to be able to buy the little bunny and make him the, like, mascot of my pizza spot. Well, I don't know how much you would buy it for, but they're on sale on, what is it? Pre-sale is 17th. So in 4 days at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and the public sale is January 18th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's the info, Warp Sound AI, warpsound.ai. So let me get into this. We're going to make a little track here. Let's see what we got. The only thing about this that I was a little bummed about is that the drum track is all bounced together, because I really like the drum track, but I feel like I wanted to mess around with something other version of it. So let me see what happens if I do that. Let me actually mute. Let me keep the lead in and the pad. I feel like that was pretty solid. Let me just run with that. This is going to be a fast one today because because the AI already did a lot of the work and I've already got some sounds up. So here's a vibe. Ooh, I liked how it didn't have a downbeat there. Yeah, okay. How should the song start? Should it start with no? What if it starts like that? Okay, cool. I think that's cool as like the intro bit there. Let me do a new part right here. Let me see. What is this? Did a little hi-hat thing here. I didn't like that guy. Cool. How are we feeling about that right now? Chat. You can tell, like, to me, these notes that the lead is playing, is it the pad? It's the lead. These notes feel like I would never have picked those notes. Like that's that's one of the things about working with AI that I think is so interesting is it's just like it'll just pick notes that it's in the key, but like dun dun dun, like to me that's it's like super weird. That's cool though. A little splashy thing on the downbeat here. All right. Yeah? All right. So these are my drums. I'm gonna get rid of their drums. I'm not gonna use Goon's drums. Let me see. This is their bass. Okay. I wonder if there's another version. Hold on, I want to do like a chorus bit. Cool. I pressed the snare by accident. Why did I do that? Where's the snare? Oh, there it is. All right, so this is going to be a third piece, I think. We'll make it red. It's hot. That was so corny. I'm sorry. I apologize already. That's so dumb. I don't know why I said that. Let me look at some of these sounds I pulled in. So we're in D minor. All right. I think I want to keep his like his chord progression. I think that's the vibe. This chord I changed. I didn't get to the one in time. This is all going to be like a chorus. I'm saving. It's not freezing. I'm saving. Isn't it crazy that AI made this music? It's crazy. I love that. I kind of want this to be bum, 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 bum. Maybe like that. Oops. Oh, let's cut out the music for a second. Let's see if this sounds good in. Cool. Okay, that was good. It's a nice little lead in here. I'm gonna replace this bass. see what happens if I mute their bass and just mess with my own. Let me just put this guy in for placement. Actually, why don't I do it over the chorus bit? Because I feel like that's gonna be the vibe. Copied and pasted the I just realized that I could have just copied and pasted the high melody and dropped it an octave, but whatever. All right, let's take this and make like a verse C version of it. We'll do like that. I played a kick that came in late. Good. I think that's the vibe. If I move this here, put on the snare. Does it feel like Timberland or something? West Coast? Dude, I've been listening to old Snoop Dogg this week. Is that why I wanted to do this track? Should we make it like a little like West Coast? Nah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Come on. I don't want to be. I wonder what happens if we do this. No, I was better the other way. A second part. Oh, can you hear that other chord? Wait, there were other chords like hiding in there. Am I just hearing that? Weird. Dude. Wait, hold on. I think that's the chords. I think that's what I'm hearing. That's cool. They were kind of hidden in there. I don't know if I'm just hearing things or if it's like if this is actually what was in there. Let me just open this plugin up and mess with this. I don't like these effects that are on here. Okay, sound. Let's do this a little bit. Sorry about the weird space wobbles. Okay. I think this is like a new section after that chorus. Let's do this. Hang on one second. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna cut that. We're gonna make a new MIDI track. We're gonna take the lead from that, which is right there. There it is. We're going to turn off this volume. We're going to turn the glide on. And then we're going to loop, put it in loop mode. And we're going to just select the part of it. Okay, so we're going to basically make a sound that's similar, that's based off of the sound that's already in there, so it should feel similar, but in the wrong key. Hang on, let me move the key. Okay, so it's similar but different. Cool. So we're making our new sound based on that. So we know what the AI played, but now I get to play my own thing. So the reason I changed the what do you call it? The velocity volume. So vel to vol. The reason I changed that to 0 is because if you can see here, I pressed this A3 right here. Is it on your screen? That guy right there, it's dark because I didn't hit it very hard. But even though I hit it very, very soft, it's still even volume with everything else. In fact, if I turn it up, it turns brighter. But it doesn't matter because the velocity volume is at 0. One thing that I like about this sound is the fact that there's a bit crusher on the original sound, but it's not the same. It won't feel the same as running this sound through a bit crusher, because that it's almost like as this sound gets higher, all of the frequencies travel up with it, as opposed to if you ran a sound that gets higher through a bit crusher, the like place where the bit crusher will be apparent on the EQ, like the sonic spectrum, the place where the bit crusher will show up will stay the same. It won't like have the same texture as this. So let's see if I go from that into like, can we do like a chorus version of it? Let's do that little same fill. This hi-hat is like, this open hi-hat is very loud. There it is. All right. Maybe I'll put like a little chorus on it or something. I'll just do a stereoizer thing on it, actually. Since it's for the, oh God. Hold on. Oh, I can't use any of my Waves plugins today. Bummer. I have to go redo my Waves subscription. All right, we're back. If I go back, no, this hi-fi was better. I'm putting it on that crashy sound. Let's do let's do like a little fill. Ba-da boom boom. Whoa, why did that go to a weird sound? What was that? I missed the note? Oh, it's on the wrong note. Let's find a good ending kick sound. All right, and after this, we're going to go back to the original chorus sound, which was this. Come on. Yeah. Excuse me. I've had a cough lately. Obviously. I'm not gonna put that crash there. Okay, so these guys can stay. Dude, what? Muted. Oh, I had this little like stabby sound. So maybe I could do dun 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 dun. So one thing you can do here, it might be cool to do, is you can put on your automation mode. You can click on your volume and go to this guy and just, oh, I'm going piece by piece here. Go click on this guy and bring it down. And then I kind of like copy paste and go up a little bit. Copy paste and go up a little bit. Copy paste and go up. And then you get, let's get it louder, all of it. Oops. Huh, that's weird. Wait, why didn't it copy the automation? Don't lock my, is it envelopes? Let's find out. There we go. I must have turned that on. Let's put this here. What do we think? It's very chill, this track. Let me see if I can make this sound a little cooler. Let's see here. Let's add a little, I'm gonna go RC20, I think. Oops. That's cool. That's with it. There's without it. Oh, it's a lot louder. Let's see if I can just bring the gain down and really get a sense. Sometimes when I'm comparing something, I want to like make sure they're the same volume. Perceived volume. Yeah, this new sounds better. now I opened up the window for like the automating different parameters here. So I can do that. Have it swell open here. Maybe add something? I just wonder what would happen if I just like play some keyboard over it. Let me see if I've got the cam. Is the cam working? Try to stand up more often, guys. Trying to like not be sitting down like the whole day. You know what I'm saying? Oh, my legs. It's like a lot. It's a lot of sitting. All right, I'm gonna just do this like little, I'm gonna just vibe out on this little Nord bit here. Let's see what happens. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna put that in on the second half of the chorus. That was like the only thing that I liked. I'll do another layer though. Let's do one more track. Let's see for this part what we got here. should go in the whole time. Let's just see this transition here and see what happens. It's the purple one we're talking about. Okay, here we go. I think this guy needs like a lot of reverb. Hang on. Let's do vintage verb. Let's like make it like. That's better. Okay. Get some water. The water doesn't help. I mean, I'll get some water, but. Okay, I'm gonna do this straight from the top so that this first thing that happens is a little guitar-y thing. So do you see what happens that like this sound? Let me just move it so you can see each thing. The Nord and the Dreams, these two things happen first. Then this happens, then these guys come in, and then nothing happens here. So I wonder if something needs to happen there. But like if I didn't do that, the thing is I could have brought it in here and then it'd be like this happens first, this happens second, this happens first, and that happens last. But the thing is that this guy is more of the melody, so I feel like it needs to be in the whole time. And then what is, oh, this is the bass. So the bass has to come in with the drums, I think. So I guess I make another thing? I mean, let's find out. Maybe there needs to be like one more thing. See what happens here. Turn off the loop. Record. Oh shit. We're on the wrong guy. Nord 3. Doesn't need to be there. So I think that's it. I think we're good. Because I think it's just this to here maybe even. And then we can just start doing, I think I said at the beginning of this, like it's not, this is not going to be a hard track to make because the AI did so much. Like it was already all there. Let's just do a little like, let's just do a little master chain. It's gonna get loud. So, you know, watch your ears. Here we go. I gotta check this on the loudest part of the song. So we're gonna say it right here. Let's listen. Thank you for redeeming the otter.
You are now vibing with Mike Shinoda.
Let's go. AKA Goon. Make sure you guys check out those Warps NFTs collection. It's 9,999 hybrid audio visual NFTs comprised of generative art by Emmy-winning illustrator and art director Andy Poon, coupled with AI composed music based on NFTs visual traits. NFT owners get commercial rights to use the audio and the character however they see fit. Pre-sales January 17th. Public sales January 18th, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Warpsound.ai. Super fun. I like this. All right, you guys. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. We do have a last minute before I wrap up for today. Running late. I gotta actually have a music session to get to too. We have a last minute thought, actually a tease of a thought by Joe Ziegler, who directed Valorant up to and through the first year and a half after launch. He actually just left Valorant to do, he's still at Riot doing another project. Joe, who is, I mean, as you can imagine, like he was the director on the game. So like, it's my favorite game. This guy is like running the ship. So I have a ton of respect for Joe, and am like so like, you know, lucky to be able to get his thoughts on the subject of the chat we had earlier. He said a few concepts intertwined here. Oh, what last thing? Joe has a philosophy background. Okay, like so. That's important to know. He said a few concepts intertwined in our chat with my chat with Xavier, hypothetical and currently unachievable, ubiquitous gaming platforms, and he put in parentheses, in the metaverse? Question mark. Digital ownership, digital markets and transactions, motivation, crowding theory, and the commoditization of gameplay. Tricky is what he said. Enjoyed the stream, had a lot of thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream and the conversation. Xavier is a great, I mean, like a great thinker, great communicator, right? Like he's very clear with his thoughts. He's very good at articulating them. And so that's why I was drawn to like talk to him. I hope that all you guys who are in NFTs listen to what he had to say, listen to Joe's thoughts here. I hope those of you who are in games and are not interested in NFTs heard some of the opportunities and maybe even some of the pushback about like, don't write it off yet. Because that's how these folks who are building brand new things, they're like, don't count me out. Like I haven't even built the thing that I want to build. Don't tell me that it's stupid. I have a vision. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Shout out to Warp Sound. Love the track. And I'm excited to see what those guys have in store for us. We got to raid somebody. Oh, I should have changed the, I should have changed the title of the stream. My bad. Who we gonna raid? Let's raid. We could raid Jericho. We could raid Carnage. We could raid Matt Heafy. Who do you guys want to raid? Shout out. Let me know in the chat real quick. I'm not going to do a poll. Carnage. Jericho, Heafy, Jericho, Heafy. Okay. Is Dave Greco on? Is Greco on? I can raid warps? Can I raid warps? Let's find out. I gotta look. Give me a moment. Okay, warp sound is not on right now. I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't look like those other folks are available. So looks like we're gonna raid. Yeah, warp's not on. We can raid Heavy. All right, let's raid Matt. And I'll be back tomorrow. Prepare for musical whiplash. You're gonna go from this to Matt's stream. I know that I can already tell he's in there shredding. Please enjoy. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.